Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to my NFL Week 6 recap. I'm Mason Sapeski, your host, here with you. So yeah, it's a very good thing for sure. It was a crazy week in the NFL, that's for sure. First things first, I just want to apologize for the lack of content these past couple of days. Obviously, you probably realized already there was no Mondays with Mason yesterday, and that there was no WPIL recap. I'm going to try to do the WPIL recap right now while I'm here, but other than that, I just want to say real quick that there will be no Mondays with Mason this week. I know, I'm sorry about that. Things have just been really busy, and it's just been a very busy couple weeks here. That's for sure. So yeah, very busy times as always, with school, with other stuff, with friends, with all the can be going on in my life is going on. So chaos for sure. I'm controlling it the best I can. So therefore, the lack of topic and also the just not enough time. That's why there will be no Mondays with Mason this week. I'm sorry about that. But we will be doing one for sure next week. I definitely have two planned for the next 2 weeks. I will write down those topics later so I remember, but I definitely have them planned, and there will definitely be 2 Mondays with Mason for October 23rd and October 23rd and October 30th. So I promise you, 2 Mondays with Mason. They might be posted a little later. They might not be posted on Monday, but there will be Mondays with Mason those next 2 sessions, or the next 2 weeks. So get ready. So that's for sure. Now on to our Week 6 recap. Again, I'm going to try to make this video as quick as possible. I have meetings today at my college, so I have to be quick with you guys. I'm not going to be too long. Yes, there was some chaos in Week 6 of the NFL season, but I'm going to try to be definitely quick with you guys. So, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. First off, we're going to start in Kansas City with the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs defeating the Denver Broncos by a final score of 19-8 on Thursday Night Football. Feels like a long time ago, but really it isn't. Time flies anymore. It's insane how quick time flies. It's insane how quick the semester has gone for me, especially during football season. Time goes so quick, unfortunately. So just savor every moment. That's my point. If you don't get anything else out of this video, take that away. Just savor every moment. Enjoy every second as it comes. That's just... And look, I mean, there's times like where I'm not happy in life too. And I'm not happy and I just want this day to be over and stuff. However, if the sadness and the not good situation continues over 4 or 5 days, what's the difference? I mean, regardless, that's 5 days of your life you just lost. I've been through a lot of tough times. Tough times are going to happen in life. You just got to fight through them. Hard times don't last. Good times don't last. There's going to be good days in our lives, and there's going to be bad days. Just take them as they come. And once the bad starts is over, focus on the good. So that's all I have. Anyway, though, let's get started talking about some football here, because I know that's really what you're all here for. The Chiefs beat the Broncos 19-8 on Thursday night at Arrowhead GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. This wasn't a shock to me. I'm surprised Kansas City didn't beat them by more. Denver's defense actually impressed for once. So yeah, it was a good performance for them on defense. Not so much on offense, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, not a lot to take away from this game other than Kansas City's definitely going to win the division. And Denver, yeah, they're pretty bad, and they need to sell at the deadline. And they're probably going to have a top 5 pick. So that's all you can take away. It'll be interesting, though, what happens with their GM situation this offseason. If they do elect to fire the general manager, George Patton out in Denver, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they actually hire somebody to take that role, or if Sean Payton will become the de facto general manager, just like Bill Belichick has become in New England, and we'll get to them later, has become in New England. So that would be interesting. Personally, I think the latter would be better. I don't think the Payton would make a bad general manager. He already, I think, has full control over the roster and the personnel and all that. So I would have to imagine if I were the Denver Bronco owners, basically I would just do what they did. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the best plan forward for them if they do. I like George Patton a lot, and I think he deserves a chance. Maybe this time's just not working out for him, so yeah. But I do think if they do decide to go the route of fire George Patton, I think that the best thing for them to do would make Sean Payton the de facto general manager. So that's just my take on that issue. For Kansas City, though, they have a not tough stretch coming up. They have the Chargers in Kansas City at home. Then they go to Denver. That's 2 easy wins, or should be 2 easy wins before a huge Week 9 tilt over in Germany against the Miami Dolphins. I already can't wait for that game. Wow, interesting. Then they're on bye. Then I think it gets a little easier from there for them. So yeah. Ravens beat the Titans over in England for this week's international game. Speaking of international games, this one didn't come as a shock to me. The Ravens are a good team. Lamar Jackson looked good. Jay Flowers finally got his first touchdown. He looks like he's going to be the real deal for these Ravens. The true wide receiver number 1 that they have not. So tired. I've not had the past couple years. It's finally there for them. So good job, Baltimore, in getting him. As for the Titans, this team's a mess right now. This team, they need to rebuild. And they need to rebuild fast. Because look at Jacksonville. Colts are starting to get better, it feels like. Texans are obviously getting better, for sure. So this Titans team, I mean, the division around you is getting better. It is time to rebuild. So, and I think that means possibly seeing what you have in Malik Willis and Will Levis. And if those two are not the answer, possibly look to draft a quarterback in the spring. Ryan Tannehill is not, unfortunately, first off, let me just start by saying, unfortunately, Ryan Tannehill got hurt this week. That's not good. And I hope he gets better soon, obviously. Hopefully he gets better. However, Ryan Tannehill has never in his career been an elite quarterback. Let's see what you drafted quarterbacks each of the past 2 drafts. Malik Willis, and you traded up with Arizona to go get Will Levis. When you trade up for a player like that, you typically want to play them. Let's think about the other teams that have traded up this draft for a talented player that they really liked. And I'm going to go by the first round because that's the big one. Houston Texans, they traded up for Will Anderson Jr. They've played him a lot. Cardinals traded up for Paris Johnson. Played him a lot. Eagles, they technically traded up with Chicago, 1 pick to get Jalen Carter. They've played him a lot. Steelers, they traded up with New England to get Broderick Jones. They've played him his fair share. What else am I thinking of? Other than that, Bills, they've played Dalton Kincaid a fair share, but he has not been the most productive, unfortunately. I don't know who else traded up. So yeah, I mean, that's just a few teams. The point being is, there's teams, a lot of teams, like when you trade up for somebody in a draft, as much as Tennessee gave up, you want to play them. I have always been a big fan of Will Levis. It's weird that I'm wearing a Michigan sweatshirt to say this, but I used to be a Penn State fan. Before I decided to go to Pitt, I was a Penn State fan. My dad went to Penn State. I grew up in Penn State my whole life. I think I've said that multiple times. But Will Levis was great and did great things at Penn State in the limited amount of time he had. And I think it's horrible that Penn State allowed Will Levis to transfer out of Penn State. Will Levis could have taken at least 2 of those Penn State teams in his college eligibility to the college football playoff. I think if Will Levis is the quarterback last year for Penn State, they beat Ohio State and they possibly beat Michigan. Unfortunately, because I have Michigan sweatshirt on. Will Levis is what a quarterback like what Penn State needs. And if you see Drew Aller right now, the current Penn State quarterback, he's exactly what James Franklin wants in a quarterback. And that's why James Franklin recruited him heavily to Penn State. And that's why Will Levis decided to go and commit to Penn State. Levis ultimately left for Kentucky. But the story I'm getting into is this. The same way that Franklin sat Will Levis and didn't take advantage of his talents while he was at Penn State is the same thing Mike Vrabel is doing to Levis in Tennessee. Yes! And it's not fair. I love Will Levis. To be honest, I didn't even recognize Will Levis when he was at Penn State, but Will Levis did good things at Kentucky. I love his arm. And I said in the draft, this kid reminds me of Josh Allen. He was probably my favorite I know I ranked Bryce Young number 1, but Will Levis was probably my favorite quarterback this whole draft. I was a huge, diehard, big believer in Will Levis. Now I think the Titans are making a mistake because they're not starting him. I've always been a big fan of Willis, and I've always been a big fan of Levis. Come on, Tennessee. I think it's time to move on from Ryan Tannehill. Put one of those two guys in, please. And that's what will help you. You do great at drafting quarterbacks. Now let's see what they're made of. And if they're not crap, cut them and draft somebody in May. Because Ryan Tannehill's not taking you anywhere. I'm sorry. But Ryan Tannehill's not taking you anywhere. Now let's go back to America here. Commanders beat the Falcons 24-16 in Atlanta. This one was a little bit of a shock, but it didn't shock me too much. The Commanders responded back well. Sorry, I'm tired. From that little incident I just had there. Little meltdown I just had. But anyway, though, Commanders responded well after their loss to the Bears last week. Falcons, what happened? You should have won this game. Again, it all comes down to turnovers. The turnover battle. Desmond Ridder threw 3 picks in one game. You're seeing what you have now in Desmond Ridder. And I am a fan of Desmond's, to be honest. But at this point, if you're going to have a quarterback that costs you games because he threw not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions in a game, it is time to consider drafting somebody new or signing a veteran. Taylor Heineke probably wouldn't have thrown 3 picks in that game. It would have been a revenge game for him. It would have been the perfect game for him to start. I think if Heineke starts, you might win this game. Arthur Smith, let's keep Desmond Ridder in. And why in the freak? And I know I'm a little biased because I have him on my fantasy team, but why in the freak did you guys draft a running back at 8 overall and he didn't do a whole lot? Typically when you draft running backs high, they do stuff for a reason. They do stuff. And there's a reason. Because they were drafted high. You don't pick running backs high. And that's the disappointing thing about both him and Gibbs. They were both drafted high, and they have not done anywhere near of what Devon Achane has done in Miami. I ranked on my draft board Devon Achane and ahead of both Bijan Robinson and Gibbs. Look who's one of the best running backs in the game this year. I'm already counting down the games and days until Devon Akane comes back. And here's why. Because I want to see him. I love watching him play. And it's sad that he got hurt. I was upset about that. That really was disappointing to me. Yeah, that's for sure. But it definitely is disappointing to see that. Devon Akane. But he's better than Bijan. He has potential to be better than Bijan. That's the point. Let's look. Bijan Robinson. 13 carries, 37 yards. 5 receptions, 43 yards. Yes, he is a threat in the receiving game, but he does nothing on the ground and you run the ball like crazy. I drafted him because I thought I would be scared of playing him this year. Well, guess what? I am certainly not scared against playing against Bijan. I would certainly not be scared if I was an opponent and I had to play against Bijan Robinson because he hasn't done a whole lot. As for the Commanders, big win, and you have a chance to get to 4-3 next week against New York. Vikings at the Bears. Vikings defeated the Bears 19-13. I don't have a whole lot to say about this game. Both these teams are just garbage this year, it looks like. Yeah. The Bears, you guys stink. Hopefully you guys have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft. So you can get Caleb, you can get Marvin, and rebuild your team. Because they need to rebuild. And maybe Justin Fields. Like I've said, if I were Chicago, I'd call San Francisco, see if they want Justin Fields. And San Francisco should call New England, see if they want Brock Purdy. Because New England is bad with quarterbacks. And we'll get to them later. So, that's all. Anyway, though, now on to the Vikings, because we're not going to get too much into the Bears because there's way too much negatives there, and I don't want to harass Chicago fans, so let's get into the Vikings. You guys have a lot of negatives, but they're easy to clean up. You guys, your problem is, even with teams like the Bears, you get into way too many one-score games. You guys play San Francisco this coming week. We're about to get to that game. They're going to be mad. They're going to be upset. They just came off a loss to Cleveland. They're going to come in with momentum. But some way or another, it will be a one-score game because the Minnesota Vikings are kings of one-score games. Some like royal king over in England or something needs to make customary crowns, go to the Vikings game, and at halftime do a ceremony where they give all the Vikings players crowns that say King of One-Score Games. Because that's what you guys are. You get into every single one-score game possible, and that's just what happens. This team is talented, but it needs work. And I think a lot of it, too, is the coaching. I'm a big fan of O'Connell, that's for sure, but those Rams coaches, that Sean McVay coaching tree, they just get into a lot of one-score games. You see it in LA, too, with the Chargers. It's nothing new. So don't be surprised with one-score games. That's my point. And I'm upset with that game, because that game was boring, and I didn't even watch it. Bengals defeated the Seahawks 13-17. Couple things on this one. Seattle, you guys still have a really good team. Just a tough loss. It's definitely hard winning on the road against Cincinnati. But yeah, you guys are still good, and you guys have a bounce-back opportunity this week against the Cardinals in Seattle. So keep your heads up, guys. You guys got this. You got a good team. Sorry to burp. Just a tough one. As for the Bengals, they're now 3-3. They're back on the right track. They get time to recoup. He'll rest up a bit before as they head into their bye week. They come out of the bye week with a gauntlet at San Francisco, Buffalo. You have two very tough games right after the bye. So yeah, things are going to get interesting in Cincy. It'll be interesting to see where their season heads, but I think the Bengals will get better as the year goes on. They're going to ultimately win the AFC North. This division's not as wide open as you think. I still have confidence that Cincinnati's going to win this division, unfortunately. So, yeah, just keep an eye out for the Bengals because they're going to start to click here, and they're going to start to click very soon. So, be worried about them. They do this every year, but Joe Burrow's going to be better, and you watch. So, be worried. Next up, we have one of the upsets of the day. The Cleveland Browns defeated the San Francisco 49ers 19-17 to give them their first loss of the season. This is the game I probably watched the most on Sunday, and it definitely came with an interest. Let's talk about the Browns first, then we'll get to the Niners. First off, Cleveland played a really good game. P.J. Walker looked good. The run game, Jerome Ford looked very good. Amari Cooper, David Bell, they looked good. This was a complete game for the Browns. That's how they won. They played a complete game and they won. That's important in the NFL. To play a complete game and win. And that's what the Cleveland Browns did. As for San Francisco, though, obviously a lot to talk about with them. I don't think this win reflects the 49ers' talent at all. I think this loss reflects the 49ers at all. Here's what I think happened. Number one, the weather. They were not used to playing in this weather, and they were coming off of just a massive win over Dallas. I think the weather held them back tremendously. And the other thing, too, was the injuries. Purdy, I think, has a little... I think he does. Let me just confirm. I think Purdy got hurt. Oh, no, he didn't get hurt. I'm sorry. Purdy did not get hurt. I'm sorry, Brock. But anyway, the two big hitters for San Fran, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, both got hurt. That affects you. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback because he has Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. You take them away, it doesn't help him. He needs people like that to succeed. And that's why Brock Purdy did succeed at first. Because he has those weapons in Deebo and McCaffrey. The fact now that they're out of the game plan hurts San Francisco. Big time. So, it's unfortunate for them. I really hope Deebo and McCaffrey are healthy for the Vikings game. So, yeah. It's for sure. It's just every team has bad days. Every team does. This San Francisco team is good. The weather and the injuries cost them this week. So yeah, that's life. And that's football for you. I'm going to be brief on these next two games because I didn't really watch them and they don't have much of a significance on my take of football. I mean, it's important to analyze all the teams, but these next two games, I don't follow these teams a whole lot, so I'll be quick. Texans beat the Saints 20-13. In Houston. This was not a shock to me. I picked Texans to win this game. C.J. Stroud had a great day. Definitely good to see that without Tank Dell. Texans defense stepped up. They did really good. So yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, Tank Dell was unfortunately hurt for Houston. C.J. Stroud, though, he still had a big projected day, and that's big for the Houston Texans. As for New Orleans, hopefully they can bounce back soon enough. This is still not a talented roster. Houston just has a much better team, and they're on a better trajectory, so that's all that was. Jaguars beat the Colts 37-20 in Jacksonville. Colts just can't win in Jacksonville. I don't know why, but they're just cursed down there for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, though, Jacksonville got the job done. 4-2 now for them. This is a really good Jacksonville. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. This is a really good Jacksonville team if you already couldn't tell. they're starting to click. They're starting to get in the rhythm, and they're going to have a great rest of the year. As for the Colts, they still have potential and all that. It's obviously going to be tougher without the services of Anthony Richardson. Colts owner Jim Irsay came out and said he expects Richardson to miss the rest of the year, which is kind of sad because he's been electric. He's lit it up this year, so it's unfortunate to see that happen to such a good, young, elite quarterback. So hopefully he gets better soon and he's good to go for next year. Can't wait to see him in 2024 on a football field. But hopefully the Colts can stay intact this year and possibly get 5, 6, 7 wins. Should be able to get 6 or 7 this year, and that would be a step in the right direction, that's for sure. And plus Gardner Minshew knows Shane Steichen too and how that system works. They are obviously in Philadelphia together last year, so Gardner hopefully could step in and do good things with Shane Steichen. So yeah. Dolphins beat the Panthers 42-21. I was surprised how this game went early on. Panthers took a 14-0 lead. That didn't sustain. Dolphins took off later in the game. Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle. I'm an idiot for saying that. Tua, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, even Raheem Mostert. This offense is just insane. This defense is impressive too. Miami's really good. You can make the case that they're the best team in the league right now. So yeah, I mean, good things are happening in Miami. So they're on the right track, and they're going to have a big game this week in Philadelphia against the Eagles at the Link. So can't wait for that game already. So interesting times in Miami for sure. As for Carolina, like I just said, good things take time. I think the way it's looking now, they rusted. They really did. They thought they were closer to contending than they were, and I don't blame them. They finished 7-10 last year. Their finish under Steve Wilkes was very good. So they thought they were closer to contending than they were. And then they signed Frank Reich. They hired him to be the head coach. He built this all-star coaching staff. Thomas Brown, Hira Avero, D'Angelo Hall, Josh McCown, Deuce Staley. Traded all those picks away to trade up and get the number 1 pick in the draft. Drafted Bryce Young. And they looked set. Because they also signed Miles Sanders, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. I think they got Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst, I think. They signed him as a tight end. So this team looked loaded. They looked ready to compete. Compete they didn't. They did not compete this year. They're 0-6. They have not won a game yet. And it's rather tough times in Carolina. So they rusted. And the GM of the Panthers, Scott Fitterer, and this is the most confusing part. He said, I need to get Bryce Young a number 1 receiver. Adam Thielen is one of the top receivers in football this year. He has balled out for Carolina, and he's giving it his all. And this team is 0-6. Something is wrong, both on defense and offense. You're starting a rookie quarterback that is below average height. Obviously, Fitterer knows the plan because he drafted he was on the staff that drafted Russell Wilson in Seattle. But let's look at Bryce Young. 5'10". Let's look at Russ. And Russ hasn't been very good as of late either. Whether or not you believe it. 5'10". Russ is 5'11". Let's see how Russ did his rookie season. So the 2012 Seattle Seahawks. Russ was a rookie. Russ was a 3rd-round pick. Because a lot of people are marrying Bryce Young after Russ. That's why I say that. I think he reminds me of Kyler Murray a lot, to be honest. They were 11-5. They were 11-5. Carolina's not even going to be 11-5. So Bryce Young by no means is a Russell Wilson. He might be experiencing struggles that Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman did, but by no means does that mean he's going to be just like them. He needs work. Carolina screwed up that trade big time, it looks like. You had a number 1 receiver, Scott, and you traded him to Chicago to move up and draft a quarterback who hasn't done a whole lot for you guys. And you would have had the ability to draft Will Levis, too, at your 9th pick. Shaking my head, Carolina. Shaking my head. I expected more from you. I'm disappointed. It's for sure. Anyway, though, now we're on to 4 o'clock games because I'm not just going to send bad mouth terrible teams because I feel bad for Carolina in a way. Those players and all are trying and they haven't won a game. So that's unfortunate in itself. Anyway, now let's move on to another game involving an unfortunate team. The Las Vegas Raiders beat the New England Patriots 21-17 in Vegas. The Raiders are good, obviously, or no, I wouldn't say good, but they're getting better. They're 500 now, and they proved they're headed in the right direction. They might be a sleeper team this year. They might not be a sleeper team this year. So it'll be interesting. I think this week coming up when they go to Chicago, that'll be an interesting test for sure to see what they're made of and to see like what direction they're going in and what's possible in Sin City. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do the rest of this way. As for New England, this team is a mess. We all knew this team was a mess, and this team needs a lot of work. The drafting has hurt them. The decisions have hurt them. And it all comes down to Bill Belichick. That's who's ultimately hurting them right now. I wouldn't fire Bill Belichick if I were Robert Kraft. But I do think the Patriots need to change something. This season is over in Foxborough. They will not be making the playoffs this year. At this point, if I were New England, you got Buffalo at home. You got Miami and Miami. You're going to probably be 1-7. At this point, I would possibly try to tank for a top 5 pick. That way you could get a franchise cornerstone and start this rebuild. And don't trade down. That's something the Patriots are common with doing. And they trade down with teams that are kind of rivals. They traded down in 2022 with Kansas City. Let Kansas City move up to get Trent McDuffie, who's done great things with them. 2023, they traded their first-round pick down with Pittsburgh. We traded up and got Broderick Jones, who's going to do great things for us. Once he gets more playing time, Mike Tomlin, how about that? Same with Joey Porter Jr. Those guys both need more playing time for the Steelers. Broderick and Porter Jr. Put them on the field and let them do their job. They are good at it, so start them, coach. But Steelers are on bye. We have a whole special Steelers game day pregame and postgame show for the Steelers, so I'll save my Steelers stuff till Sunday. Anyway, the point being is, if you get a top 5 or top 10 pick New England, don't trade down. Because the minute you trade down, that's when the catastrophe starts. And then they'll draft somebody out of some small school in Maryland with a top 10 pick. Because that's what they're the best at doing. They're the best at wasting picks. And they've done that a lot as of late. And that comes back to Belichick. So shame on you, Bill. This team needs rebuilt. It's obvious. And Mac Jones isn't, but I just want to conclude my New England part by saying, Mac Jones isn't working. You guys need a quarterback. Whether that be a veteran, a free agent, or a draft pick, you guys need somebody else. Bring in Brock Purdy and draft a late round quarterback. That would help big time. Thank you. Anyway, now we're going to move on to another team I like. It's a team from this state. The Detroit Lions defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-6 in Tampa, Florida on Sunday afternoon. Buccaneers had their creamsicle game this week. Didn't go too well for them. Credit to Detroit's defense. They played a very fine game. They looked very good. Also credit to the offense. Amon-Ra went off. Jared Goff is proving to be an elite quarterback under Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. They've done great things in their time together in Detroit. So yeah, Dan Campbell's done really great things. And this team is tied for the best record in the NFC! Woo! Tied for the best record in the NFC, baby. Let's go. So hopefully Detroit can overtake Philly or the 49ers and possibly gets a good seed for the playoffs so that we don't have to play Seattle, who we always find a way to lose to. So actually, I think let's see the playoff matchups as of now in the NFC. I hope that we don't play Seattle because we always lose to Seattle. We should be 6-0 right now if it weren't for that goofy team that always beats us from the Pacific Northwest. I bet you when everybody talks about the Lions, how good they are, I bet you that makes them happy, Seattle fans, because they own us. All right, according to the NFL's website, what's with this one? 49ers are 1, Eagles are 2, Lions are 3, Buccaneers are 4. Oh my gosh. The way it's set up right now would be set to play the Seahawks. Of course, the team that always beats us. Not good. Not good, not good, not good. The interesting times continue. And let's check this other website. Yep, everything, everywhere you look, we're set up to play the Seattle Seahawks. Not good. So hopefully Detroit can keep winning and get out of a playoff matchup with Seattle. That's all I want. As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their season's still intact. They still are a good team. Just a tough game against a tough defense and all. Couldn't have went better. Once better for Detroit, so give them credit. And Tampa Bay still is a very good team. That's for sure. Rams beat the Cardinals 26-9 Sunday afternoon in Inglewood. This one actually surprised me because the Cardinals have won the last 2 meetings in LA against the Rams. And I was truly expecting them to win a third the way they've been playing. But this team, I think they're probably worse than Carolina, to be honest with you. They're just, the way they've played is pretty awful, and we all knew they were going to be awful, but their true colors are starting to show. After they hung in there with Commanders, Giants, they beat Dallas, and they lost to San Francisco, they lost to Cincy. Their true colors are showing now, and we're going to see how bad this team is later in the year, for sure. As for the Rams, this was a big win for them as they prepare to host the Steelers next week. So, yeah, that's for sure. The Rams needed this one, so it was good to see them win it. Also, too, yeah, tune into my Steelers versus Rams Steelers game day pregame show and Steelers game day postgame show. Those will be out sometime Sunday or Monday, so keep an eye out for those. Eagles lost to the Jets. The Jets beat the Eagles 20-14 at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford on Sunday afternoon. I was super glad to see this one, especially since I didn't want to be the free seed. Well, we are the free seed, obviously. Detroit is the free seed, obviously. But it was good to see Philly lose, so that we're all even now. So, and also for other reasons, too. It was good to see Philly lose, but good job to the Jets. I'm super glad they won this game. Philly's not as good as people think they are, I believe. So, yeah, I think they're probably right around where Detroit is. So, definitely interesting, that's for sure. But I wouldn't think about this too much if I were Philly. I'd just move on to the next week because you have a big game next week at the Link with the Miami Dolphins. So, just worry about that. Think about that, and it'll be all good. And also, too, you guys can think about the Phillies because they're doing really good, too, and they are 1-0 right now. They beat the Diamondbacks last night 5-3 at Citizens Bank Park. It's for sure. They're only 3 wins away from making an appearance in the World Series yet again as NL champions. Wrecking ball in the playoffs. They beat the Atlanta Braves really bad last week. So keep an eye on Philadelphia is to be invested in the Phillies for now. Eagles will be good. They'll come around. They'll be a good team in December and January when it matters most. But just my tidbit of advice for Philly fans is follow the Phillies. Don't sweat this loss. The Eagles will be all right. That's just my take on it. As for the Jets, though, it was still a really good win for you guys, especially since Zach Wilson didn't have another great day yet again. So it was another good win for the Jets. Garrett Wilson stepped up big time. I was so happy to see that for my fantasy team. This offense, Breece Hall, showed what he could truly do, even without Aaron Rodgers. And it shows you one thing these past 2 weeks. A Nathaniel Hackett offense defeated the Philadelphia Eagles. A great, tough defense. a Nathaniel Hackett offense beat them. A Sean Payton offense didn't do crap against Kansas City. So it shows you that Sean Payton should have never made, if last week didn't back up this statement enough, it shows you that Sean Payton should have never made those dumb as crap remarks about Nathaniel Hackett. Because look at what Nathaniel Hackett's done now. Zach Wilson is a pathetic NFL quarterback, and we all know he's a pathetic NFL quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett had Aaron Rodgers going into this year. He had a lot of hype because he had Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays into the season, gets hurt, and is most likely out for the season. And he's doing great with his recovery, by the way. He's doing really great. It was great to see him not on crutches throwing this week, so that's awesome to see that. And it's good that Zach Wilson has him there to mentor him. And I was never a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, but I'm starting to like him a little more the way he's being helped and encouraged and meant at the facility. But anyway, point being is, Nathaniel Hackett's Jets are better than Sean Payton's Broncos. Hackett was not the problem. And Sean Payton needs to keep his mouth shut on that issue. He's an embarrassment to the NFL right now. And he needs to wise up or else. And don't get me wrong, I need to wise up too in more ways than one. However, I'm very critical, and I will be rude, and I will be ignorant, and I will be nasty to people, and I will say stuff I will regret, and I will come out and apologize for saying things I regret. I can be very mean and very rude and very ignorant to people. However, I would not go on a camera unknowingly and say 20 dirty hands are the reason a quarterback failed. And one of those 20 dirty hands is your boss. And I would also not say this was one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL, when your Denver Broncos team is probably going to be just as bad, if not worse, than the Nathaniel Hackett one. Get what I'm saying? For sure. Look, I mean, yeah. Sean Payton was a great coach in New Orleans. I loved Sean Payton in New Orleans because he was good, he was smart, he was well-minded, and he knew what he was doing there. This is just incompetent. What he needs to do, and I know it's truly hard for him because of his age and the point in his life where he's at right now. It's easier for me to say this because I'm an 18-year-old. I'm not Sean Payton, and I am not, I don't even know how old he is. I'm not a 59-year-old football coach. I'm an 18-year-old youngster. But Denver needs to rebuild. And I think they have the wrong person there to rebuild. And I'm not saying that to diss Sean Payton. Here's why. Sean Payton, and I would be saying this too if I were at his age. Sean Payton is 59 years old. Right now. On December 29th of this year, Sean Payton will celebrate his 60th birthday. So when the Denver Broncos play their last snap of the season, or take their last snap of the season, Sean Payton will be going into this offseason to try to rebuild a team that has struggled and sucked as of late. As a 60-year-old man. The point being is, and I'm not saying his age is bad. Nobody's age is bad. We all age. I age. I'll be 19 soon. But it's hard for him to want to rebuild. I'm sure he wants to go to Denver. He wanted to go to Denver because he has an opportunity at a Super Bowl. He believes. He's 60 years old. Rebuilds take time. If he tears it all down, 24 is going to be bad. 25 might be so-so. 26 might be so-so. 27 might be the year they click. They might not win a Super Bowl for another 5 years. At that point, he will be 6. They might not be competitive until he's 64 or 65. And I know Belichick is coaching at 70. But at some point, he might just want to say, I want to spend more time with my family. The NFL is changing, and I don't know if my aids, or I don't know if I'm adapting with it well enough. So I don't think if they want to rebuild that he's the appropriate person, just because, I mean, it's tough. They are so, and I know we're supposed to be talking about Eagles-Jets, but I just want to bring this up because we're at it. And then we'll get back to Eagles-Jets, I promise. They are so between a rock and a hard place right now in the Mile High City. If somebody went up to me on the side of the road and asked, name one NFL team between a rock and a hard place, it's an easy one. I would say the Denver Football Broncos. Because they have a quarterback under contract for 5 more years who is past his prime. They have a head coach under contract now for 4 more years after this. They're committed to these people. They traded up all kind of draft picks for these people. And it hasn't worked out the way they wanted it to. So take it for what it's worth. What Denver didn't work. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that topic. We'll probably visit it again next week if they lose to Green Bay. So, yeah. For the Jets now, obviously, things get easier after the bye. You guys play the Giants, then you play the Chargers at home. I can easily see you guys sitting at 5-3 after that. Possibly if you beat the Raiders, even 6-3. So, good things might happen for the Jets after all. Possibly. Sorry, Bird. And the best thing is Aaron Rodgers might come back in like December or even January. So you guys have possible chance this year. So if the Jets make the playoffs this year, that'll be impressive. Because of the whole Hackett situation. So yeah, we already talked about that, and I'm not going to get back into it again. So that's enough of that. This one was definitely an interesting one. Bills beat the Giants 14-9 in Orchard Park on Sunday Night Football. Prayers up, first things first. Prayers up to Damian Harris. Hope he gets better soon, so hopefully all's okay with him. As for the New York Football Giants, still a lot needs done in New York. They played a good game with a backup quarterback against one of the best teams in their home building, but they still need to do a lot of work to strengthen their cause and possibly be productive. As for the Buffalo Bills, there's a crap load of warning signs for you guys. You barely beat the Giants at home. That's pathetic. That is so pathetic. This team needs work. This is not the same Bills team as years past. I was an idiot to pick them to be 15-2 or 14-3. They're not that good. This is coming to be the end, possibly, for Josh Allen and co. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens there, and we'll keep an eye out. Last game, then I'm going to wrap it up. Cowboys defeated the Chargers 2017 last night at SoFi. I didn't watch any of this game. I watched some of the Phillies game last night, so that was my night last night. But yeah, Cowboys looked really good. For sure. Chargers obviously another one-score game team like always, but Cowboys, yeah, they're on the right track 4-2. Good way to head into your bye. Chargers 2-3. They have a toughie in Kansas City, so they need work, and they need work fast. So yeah, that'll be interesting. That's for sure. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm sorry this video lasted longer than it necessarily had to. That's my mistake. So, yeah, sorry about that. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Keep an eye out for more videos coming later this week. My Week 7 predictions will be up Thursday. In the meantime, have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Pray for Israel. And as always, peace. See you soon.